Hello everyone! It's an exciting time to be alive because the new patch has just released, so it's time to talk about some of the new cards, I think. A lot of changes have been made, especially even since the first spoilers have started. So let's open up some kegs and see what has been changed, and then maybe take a look at some of the other cards if we still have some time. But 68 kegs might also just take a little bit, so not holding out for that. But we've got some way to go. So let's see what else is new. Not a lot of spares, but especially in the rare slot we should have plenty of things to choose from. So normally I would immediately keep the premium card, but because Dimeritium Bomb and I think it was Swallow Potion are currently the only two rare cards with premium editions, they are kind of ridiculously common, so I'll happily take Ulbrich here. And expecting to get another Dimeritium Bomb sooner rather than later. So let's go and see if I'm right about that. I'm not feeling any heartbroken. I'm not feeling heartbroken because of missing that one. And well, that's a good one to start with. Glenn Drummond's Shield Maiden. Oh, I probably should have talked about that Nilfgaard card over there. Whenever this unit is weakened but not destroyed, play an instance of it from your deck. Might be cute. Self-Hurt Skellige looks like an interesting deck at the very least. Definitely worth trying. So excited to try that out pretty soon. Some people have experimented with it already and to decent effects, I believe. Also, we should probably take a look at the starter cards for Nilfgaard. So let's hop into that soonish. Just picking this one because it auto disenchants. We already have all of the old rares in common, so if there's nothing interesting to look at, then we'll just skip past it pretty quickly. Mostly hoping for Nilfgaard cards here. So Impera Brigade and another Nilfgaard card. One of the disloyal units, which is pretty nice. Playing the top loyal only non-gold unit in your deck. So that's a pretty big one. Filters the deck, but is of course a disloyal unit. It's basically 8 strength minus 5 strength, so kind of like a King of Beggars in a way, but also as a disloyal unit to the field, which has some synergy with the way Nilfgaard operates. So pretty happy to have this one. Let's actually take a quick look at the card we opened at first. I think it's only a rare, so we might even run into it later, but that also allows us to take a quick look at the other new Nilfgaard cards that everyone starts out with. So we had, we have Fringilla, of course, because that's a starter card, just a 10 strength silver. And Ulbrich over here, if possible, draw a card, then your opponent draws a card and reveals it. So both players get a card for a 9 strength silver, but your opponent also reveals it. So in a reveal-centric deck, such as the Emir deck that everyone starts out with, that could be valuable, and Emir himself also reveals 3 cards, so you would probably still need some synergy to work with that. For example, the Spotter here doesn't look incredibly exciting to me, but can still do some work. 1 strength for each revealed card in each player's hand, and also gains a strength whenever a card becomes revealed while he's already on the field. So, other than that, we have some disloyal synergies, like the Impera Brigade for each spying unit. Can get a little ridiculous if both players have some spying units, so for example Nilfgaard versus Nilfgaard. We'll have to see how often that happens, and how big Impera Brigade really gets when you yourself play them. But with the disloyal units that you start out with, like the Emissary and the Ambassador over here, you can get to a decent amount of disloyal units, disloyal spying units. Spying simply means that a disloyal unit is on your opponent's side of the board. That can get pretty big, and you can really get some nice synergies going off. Ambassador adds 12 strength to a random non-gold unit on your side, so that's a pretty big strength swing, but of course you cannot allocate to which unit you would like that to go. So that's a bit of a downside, and it also requires an actual target on your side. So if you top deck Ambassador with an empty hand, or perhaps only have gold units in your hand, then you could get screwed over by your own actions. So you gotta be a little careful with that. Other than the Ambassador, we also have the Emissary, playing the top bronze unit in your deck for the cost of giving 2 strength to your opponent. That is basically rally, but with the added synergy of giving your opponent a disloyal unit. I probably would only see this being played in a deck that's focused on the disloyal units, but perhaps the filtering just is enough by itself, but that will have to remain to be seen. So the Black Infantry Arbalest removes 3 strength from an opponent's gold unit, and then removes 5 strength if it is higher than base strength. So if your opponent has some buffing synergies, then this is a 10 strength bronze, which is pretty nice. It also does mean that you're not really that likely to actually kill the unit with it. Unless I guess it's something small with a small buff, like the Foglet or whatever, but would you really use a Black Infantry to kill a Foglet? I'm not sure. Probably not. Now each faction has also gotten a basic 5 strength unit which shoots for 3 damage, as well as a unit that is agile and buffs the entire row by 2 strength, so basically a Clan Demon's Cold, I believe. So these are units that are present in every single faction, as well as a generic 8 strength unit. So not much there to talk about. It's just 6 units that every player starts out with, and mostly for beginning players, really. Then we also have the Alchemist, reveal a random card in your opponent's hand. Again, nice with the Emir synergy, as well as the Spotter, and perhaps some other synergies might be found. So that's the starting Nilfgaard cards. Nilfgaard does not start with a pre-built starter deck, but if you add all of those cards together in a deck, then you would quickly end up with a deck worth 18 cards. So just add some specials and you'll be ready to go. Just taking a quick look at the filters here. In case you didn't know, there are actual filters in the deck building interface. That's not new, that used to be there before, but many people might not be aware of the possibility. So a starting Nilfgaard deck might look something like... that was not the way I intended that to go. Might look something like the above. Let's see, what do we start with? This guy, girl, excuse me. Something like this, 18 cards, yeah, that seems about right. So for a starting player, there's not really a lot of options to consider. You probably just add whatever golds and silvers you have available to you. So something like Geralt, Scorch, Commander's Horn, prize-winning cow, and then you're almost already there. So 2 first flights, most likely. And then you'll have a deck to at least battle with. It's not going to be too exciting until you add some additional cards, of course, but that's just the way trading card or collectible card games work. But that being said, let's continue opening some boosters or kegs, depending on what you would like to call them. Hawk a Smuggler starts out at a decent rate, and especially if your opponent plays a lot of tokens, then this could be a pretty big deal. And we have a premium fall test. Ooh. I do like some of these cards. Premium fall test, not incredibly impressive. He's just standing there with his cup in hand. Are you ever going to drink that? Anyway, gotta take premium, right? So Frightener not incredibly exciting. A card similar to this was changed, but we might get to that later. Becker's Twisted Mirror also might work with a new Nilfgaard deck, but I gotta take the premium, right? I probably would have taken the Becker's Twisted Mirror, I think, if there were no premium in the pack, but of course, a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Vrem Warrior, interesting change, by the way. When played and at the end of every 2 turns, destroy the weakest non-gold unit and absorb its strength. So, that's pretty cool, and might work very well with, for example, the Arakas Behemoth. So you can eat an Arakas with the Vrem Warrior, and then it creates another Arakas for it to eat. So that can run out of hand rather quickly. I believe it was every single turn at first, and they quickly went back on that one. Rod Tosser, also a really interesting card, spawns a Cow Carcass, and we can take a look at the Cow Carcass right now, but it's a 1-strength disloyal unit that destroys the weakest unit on its row at the end of the next turn, or the start of your next turn, whatever. There's a bit of a timer, so your opponent has a chance to react, but then will lose the weakest unit on its row, so that can really do some work. Wonder how this is going to turn out, whether it's worth playing. Could be a fun interaction at the very least. Just picking a random card here. Alright. My throat is going to kill me in some time if we're keeping up this pace, so let me pour myself a little bit of a drink. Alright, anything exciting in here? Queensguard was nerfed to a 2-strength, but the added graveyard synergies in the new patch might still make them very playable. So, especially the King Bran change, most of all. So, still excited to try that out, even though the Queensguard might look really weak with only 2 strength. The added consistency of being able to just dump 2 of them in the graveyard right away on the first turn could still be exciting. So I might just have to craft a series sometimes and try that out. Shoot was really excited about that for some reason. And we've got Alba Pikeman, generic weather immune unit for Nilfgaard. We'll take one of those. We'll get the commons, probably most of them pretty quickly, so I'm not incredibly worried about not getting 3 copies of the Skellige unit. I could be wrong about that, of course. Blizzard Potion. Important note on the Blizzard Potion, by the way, is toggling the weather immunity. That means that you can also target a weather immune unit and turn off their weather immunity, and that could be interesting in a weather-focused deck, so that might even be good enough to run. We'll have to see. We have a lot of Swallow Potions already, wow. Alright. Open the next keg. Show it, shoot. What have we got? Harpies. Harpies are exciting. So these spawn 2 Harpy eggs. Every Harpy egg is only a 1-strength unit, so this is basically a 5. But when the eggs get eaten, so for example by the new Vrem Warrior effect, they get an additional 6 strength. So those Vrem Warriors can get really big if the Harpy eggs are eaten. And there's a new card. Ooh, well, talk about Ceres. Yes, thank you. It must be a sign, right? So we have to try a Queensguard deck sometime soon. Alright. Well, not unhappy to to see that one. I was about to say I was going to craft her perhaps just to try it out, so that's pretty good. Emperor Brigade. Poor infantry. Oh, poor infantry. Spawn 2 base copies, so that means that any buffs used on the poor infantry will not be copied over to the copies that it creates. So the poor infantry deck, as we knew it before this patch, is no longer here. But I can pretty much say that not a lot of players will be really that sad about it. Alright, and Impera Enforcers. I'm probably butchering these names, by the way. Is it Impera or Impera? I'm going with Impera for now, but I should obviously play more Witcher just to find out how to pronounce all these names. For strength, whenever either player uses a leader card, so a card that you wish to use early. I'm not sure about that one. Seems like a really bad top deck in the late game, so there's not really a way to guarantee an early use, and there's definitely hero powers like Braverhoog, or as aforementioned King Bran, for example, that you really want to use early, so in that case your opponent is not really getting too much value out of his Emperor Enforcers. Anyway, more Nilfgaard cards. I'm always in favor of that. So, Arbalest we already talked about, right? And Emperor Brigades, well, we'll have plenty of those. Old Spear Tip. Well, this card was pretty ridiculous before today. As it is right now, I'm pretty excited about this card still. So, we play him, we add 1 strength to all other non-gold units on the row, and whenever there's 3 or more units on the opposite row, so he's agile, so you can place him wherever. And then whenever there's 3 or more units on the opposite row, he doubles in strength, so he gains 8. He's an 8 instead of a 4, and then he deals 2 damage to every unit on that row. And whenever the amount of units on the opposite row is reduced to less than 3, then he becomes asleep again, but that also means that he adds 1 strength to all non-gold units on the row again. At least, for now, that's how I assume it works. I could be wrong about that, but if you continue to juggle like that, of course, being a monster card, it's going to be hard to add additional minions to your opponent's row. Perhaps Avalach might still do a job there, but we'll have to see. This is an exciting card, only a rare too. That's really really good. Most factions could use more silver rares, so that's cool. I like it. More foot soldiers. Yeah. So Foglots, I should probably also mention, are 2 strength now. That's kind of relevant. So at base value, Foglots are 3 strength now. That's pretty decent. Makes them a lot more rewarding to use. And Commander's Horn, I can't ignore the elephant in the room right now, no longer doubles the strength of units, but instead adds 5. So could still be pretty darn strong, especially if you're going to use it in a deck with a lot of swarming stuff, like Foglots perhaps. Might be a bit much to use them on Foglots. Oh, Glendronum's Shield Maidens of course have different arts, so we'll get them more often than other rare cards, so I'm not really worried about not getting enough of these. Alright. Yeah, Commander's Horn might be really strong. I think it might even be in line for a slight downwards adjustment. Combat Engineer, ooh. So toggle resilience of a... Oh, that's also... I probably should have mentioned about Adrenaline Rush, but Adrenaline Rush effects, like the Combat Engineer here, and also the card Adrenaline Rush itself, now toggles resilience of a unit, so you can also turn resilience from an opposing unit off again. So that's pretty exciting. As well as Adrenaline Rush on a card, this is looking pretty strong. I like it. So Harpies again, Temerian Foot Soldier, a Northern Realms new common card. Plays all Temerian Foot Soldiers from the deck, so 12 value at first. And thins the deck, so that's probably pretty good. Alright, Wyvern also changed, Dryad Dragoon also changed to add 4 strength instead of 3, and Wyvern is changed to be in line with the other units that shoot damage in each of the other factions. Just so everyone has a 3 damage effect available to them. They're not really made to be really that competitive, although some of these cards definitely have received a higher total strength swing. So if you add the damage that they deal to the strength of the unit itself. Wyvern before used to be a 3 strength that dealt 4 damage, so you're getting a bigger strength swing. I'm not sure whether that makes the card playable. Probably not. But it's good to have, and it's a little bit of consistency, so you can count on each faction having a 3 damage effect available to them, which is also useful for game balance, for example. So what do we got here? Alba Pikeman. Well, it's really the only choice, so let's take it. Alright. Have I seriously been talking for 20 minutes already? Oh my, we're never getting through this. Oh, pirates were buffed by 1 strength again, after being nerfed in the last patch. Probably a little too weak, they were. So that also makes the discarding Skellige deck more interesting. So that's definitely a place to look when we're going to try some new decks. Okay, well, if you're ready, Shub, then so am I. Nausicaa Brigade. Ooh, we haven't looked at that one yet. Terrarium Foot Soldier, by the way, also has 3 different arts, and we'll have to take a look at the full one, because I like it. Nausicaa Brigade. Remove 4 strength from a spying non-gold unit on either side. If the unit was destroyed, gain 4 base strength. So a natural fit with the 2 strength spy cards, like the Ambassador and the Emissary, if I remember correctly. That could be pretty good. It's a 9 strength. Well, it's a 9 strength card in that case, but it also removes 2 strength from your opponent's board. If it does not remove, well, as long as it has a target, it's pretty good, right? Even if you're targeting the 5 strength spy with this, it doesn't kill it. But it's still a nice 9 strength bronze card, so not too awful. And really only 1 choice. We have a Geralt already, so Eleran didn't have that one yet. Pretty happy to see her. Alright, we have, I can hardly read it, 50 kegs left. This is going to take forever. Nilfgaardian Knights, reveal a random card in your hand, 11 strength bronze unit. So that's pretty interesting. One change worth of note is Blue Stripes Commando no longer buffs other Blue Stripes commandos in the graveyard, so resurrecting those with a field medic is going to be a little less impressive than it used to be. Clan Torodok Armorsmith is a new Skellige common, and is looking pretty strong actually, because it's immune to weather, it's agile, so you can place it anywhere. And also something to mention is that all units that used to be immune to a specific weather type are now immune to all weather types, so that makes certain units a lot better, and also a lot more resilient to Geralt art, most of all. I guess Drowner is also a thing. But units that used to be immune to frost now are also immune to any other weather type, and that's pretty strong. Armorsmith resets all the weakened non-gold units on its row to base strength, so a really good anti-weather card, not only because of the immune to weather, but also because it resets all of your other units, and with the reset to base strength in Skellige, could be pretty darn strong. And another legendary. Ooh, well, Saskia has definitely received a nice little buff. I think she used to be 5 or maybe even 4 strength before. And still has the same effect of removing 1 from all opposing units, adding 1 to all friendly units. Letho is also an interesting card, but perhaps a little harder to use. I'm tempted to go with Saskia here. Who hasn't received a name change, by the way, which is kind of odd. I was expecting her to be changed to Sesenthesis by now. I really thought that was a change that was upcoming. So Letho would banish 3 non-gold units on its row. You can also place them disloyally, by the way. So you can eat 3 units on its row, banishes them, and then adds up their power, so it basically makes a big, nasty gold unit with the total strength of 3 units on its side, plus 1. Why would you use that on an opposing row? Well, for example, you don't want those units to end up in your opponent's graveyard, or perhaps they have nasty effects that might still trigger. Or perhaps they're weathered. Ooh, you could use Letho on a... Nah, that's really marginal, isn't it? If you're expecting your opponent to have a clear skies, then I guess you could Letho 3 of their units and give your opponent a 4 strength gold instead of something they could have regained with using a first light. Letho looks a little too marginal, so I'll go with Saskia here. But Letho definitely also worth further examination, I think. Not one I'm immediately jumping towards, but certainly wouldn't have been unhappy to have one. And we've got an epic card. Well, only one choice. Kahir. Oh, he was given a big buff in strength. He used to be 6, I think. So at 10 gold strength, that seems pretty interesting. After 2 turns, both leaders will be available for use again. Could be pretty good with, well, against certain leaders that don't really have multiple uses for their leader ability, such as Bravo Hook, actually. Because, well, you're running out of silver cards in your deck at a rather rapid pace, especially if you're playing Bravo. So Kahir, oh, it's interesting. It's interesting. We'll have to see whether... I don't think there's too much synergy with Kahir, except for the common card that gains bonus strength on leader power usage, but seems a little marginal. But at 10 strength, it's hard to complain, really. We have another Emir. Well, okay, thanks for the scrap, I guess. That's the thing that happens. So, a small change to Neckers, by the way, is that they also get buffed when on the battlefield. So that's a nice change to the Absorb archetype. We could take Natalis or we can take Asire, and I have no idea what Asire does again, so let's read it. 10 strength now. Choose up to 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard and randomly place them in your opponent's deck. For each chosen, lose 1 strength. Huh. I thought... That seems really marginal. I thought she used to be lower strength and then gained strength for each card that you gave your opponent back. So it is useful to deny graveyard synergies, I guess? I really don't know. I'm not sure what to expect. Then again, John Natalis, also not incredibly exciting, even though he's a 14 strength gold card. Northern Realms really doesn't look for that, I think. So let's take a risk with this series, shall we? She might be better than we're giving her credit for, and especially if Skellige becomes really popular. I guess you could remove some cards from your opponent's graveyard to counter that. Alright, nothing too much worth mentioning here. Oh, Elven Mercenary, of course, but we'll get back to that one. Anything worth mentioning over here? Resilience? Not really, nope. Oh, River Hunters no longer buff each other, so that I guess that's worth mentioning. Elven Mercenary is now melee only. Still plays a special card from your deck. I guess the real change here is with Blue Mounted Commando, which can no longer bounce Elven Mercenary because she's now relentless. So that's a big change for Scoia'tael. Alright, Ship, whenever you're ready. Is my internet backing up again, or I'm not really sure what's taking so long. There we go. Good boy. Another epic. Wow. Shalach. Gain 6 strength whenever either player uses a leader card. So it's basically a bigger version of the bronze units. I don't recall seeing this card in the spoilers, but I guess it's easy to skip. Because it's relatively vanilla, I guess. But perhaps it could work with the gold card we just opened. And here's the aforementioned Blue Mountain Commando. Did these guys get a strength increase? Oh, they did get a strength increase from 5 to 6, but when resurrected, 1 less base strength, huh? Alright. So, non-relentless, well, and is now a siege row. So a lot of Scoia'tael units have had their agility removed, which is definitely notable and makes them a little weaker to weather in general. But with Scoia'tael being the oppressive faction for the past few weeks, I guess you can't really blame them for jumping the gun a little bit. A lot of spies have had their strength increased by sometimes a rather lot, such as Stennis, who used to be 8, and is now also immune to weather. So you can't really easily get rid of all the strength of your own spy by just placing them into a weathered row, and that's actually really relevant. So as I said, premium swallow potion. We'll be seeing a lot of those, I think. Even though it's the first one right now, it's really pretty though. Look at that. Alright, so yeah, we'll probably have a full set of swallow potions and a Dimeritium bomb after this. Small detail for the Redanian elite: they no longer re-promote themselves if somehow they are demoted by a Cadwini sergeant, for example. So be careful with that if that's a thing you used to do. You filthy bug abuser. I'm only kidding, but I've been known to use that myself. Another interesting card, Cadwini's Siege Expert. Buffs machine type units, and machine is kind of new, but all of the siege weaponry cards in Northern Realms, as well as in the new Nilfgaard, and I think the longships in Skellige are also machines, although it might be hard to use that with the siege expert here. But whenever you play a machine, it gains 3 strength, and this guy loses 1. So that could be an archetype, although I don't really think one synergy card really makes the archetype tick, but could be worth investigating at the very least. All right. So, when we're speaking of Queensguard, I think Drake Bondu has gained a big bonus. He is fleeting now, so you cannot resurrect him, but he gives your whole graveyard a pretty substantial bonus. So that's might also be a reason why the Queensguard got nerfed. There's another Swallow Potion, but we'll take the Dolbathana Marksman, which is another pretty strong unit. If it manages to hit a unit with strength 10 or more, it's a 12 strength bronze card, and that's pretty insane. And even in the fail case of not having a target to remove 5 strength from, it's still a 7 strength agile unit, so pretty darn strong. I think we'll be seeing a lot of her, especially since it's one of the few remaining agile units in Scoia'tael, so that's also something. Alright, I think that's the last Temerian foot soldier, actually. Clan and Craig warriors are now 9 strength and lose 2, so instead of 7 and lose 2, I think. And they can get pretty big in the late game, and that also means that Krach and Craig, the leader, is a lot stronger right now, since he immediately adds 7 wounded strength times 2 to the board. That's pretty big. That is actually pretty big. So we could take another Swallow Potion here. So as you can see, the Reaver Hunter, it gained an extra strength, but no longer gives your remaining Reaver Hunters a buff. So overall, a small nerf, I'd say, but Reaver Hunters work pretty ubiquitous in a lot of Northern Realms decks. And with the new common unit added, I think their deck thinning will be fine, most likely. Let's take another spotter, because we don't really need a Swallow Potion. We don't really need another spotter, I think, but if we want to do something with the revealing archetype in Nilfgaard, it's good to have the option, I guess. Not really anticipating too much for that card, but we'll see whether my inkling here is right. We can probably go over these cards a lot quicker when we're where we're progressing. Fireball Trap was changed again. it's seen a lot of changes. So it now spawns a neophyte again if it triggers, and now only removes 3 strength, but you can still reset it with the Blue Mountain Commando, as far as I know. But with only removing 3 strength, it becomes a lot harder to really deny your opponent the utility of their small creatures. So it's a little easier to play around, but also slightly stronger in the Scoia'tael deck itself, I think. So that could be pretty cool, and could very well be a way for Scoia'tael decks to function from here on out, because they kind of need to find a new identity with the Blue Mountain Commando change, I think. Anything worth mentioning here? I think not. Priestesses are still fine, and we have Cleaver here. Or should I take another Emissary? I think we'll go with the Cleaver. Cleaver now locks... well, Cleaver's a new card, so I can say now, but he's a new card that locks a non-gold unit on the battlefield, and lock is a way to get rid of a lot of abilities your opponents might have on their creatures. I guess you can also lock your own creatures, but that's not going to apply a whole lot. So we can get rid of Resilience, we can get rid of Quen, of Weather Immunity, of any passive effects. Does not remove buffs, so it's not entirely silence from games like Hearthstone, but it does remove a lot of ongoing effects that might be pretty nasty. So let's take Cleaver, it's a good card to have. And we'll likely be able to pick up another Ambassador pretty soon, I think. A couple of neutral cards. Arakaze are buffed to 3 strength, so Consume Archetypes might be a lot better. With the change to the aforementioned Vrem Warrior, they gain 3 strength every few turns. It could be pretty notable. Triad Officers add 2 strength to your weakest units, so that's a pretty big buff, I'd say. If you can manage to hit this on 2 units of your own and 1 on your opposing side, that's already a 9 strength bronze and can have a lot of upside. Don't know if it's enough to really make it see play, but we'll have to see. No reason to take the premium Dimeritium Bomb again, so let's take a Marksman and move on. We'll probably do a couple more and then cut the video to the next one, because this is taking a lot longer than I expected. But the Light Cavalry is now immune to weather, so most factions actually have a weather immune unit now. So that's worth noting, I think. Another Cleaver, so we should have taken the other card, unfortunately, but can't really anticipate that. This guy wasn't changed, I think, or he might have gained a point of strength. Yes, I think he used to be a 2. Probably not good enough to see play, but not to be neglected. A lot of underused cards were given at least slight buffs, so that's worth considering. Another epic card, alright, then Dandelion. I recently learned it's actually Dandelion and not Dandelion, for some reason. I don't really know why, but he only buffs your units now. So that's... well, he used to give a bonus to your opponent's minions, so that makes him a lot more usable. I'm not sure whether he's really worth a silver spot in the Northern Realms decks, but might be worth a shot, at the very least. Venomar. I'm going to have to take a look at all these new cards. No idea what to expect. When your hand deck or on the battlefield gain 1 strength whenever a card in either player's hand is revealed. So combine him with Emir and you have a 10 strength bronze, 10 strength silver, but he does have a ceiling. He can be much better, I'm not sure. He doesn't look too impressive, to be fair. I think I'll pick Dandelion and see if we can make him work. If I'm wrong about Venomar, then I'll craft him, but I'm not all that excited yet. I'm not entirely convinced. Alright, what else do we have here? Clandemon Pirates, I don't think there's anything worth saying about those, except perhaps one of the new epic cards. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess, or we won't. This font is really hard to read, wow. I think we have this specific art of this card already, but that's never bad to get a rare card for free. Warlong ships could be pretty good in the new discard archetype. Well, it's not really a new archetype to be honest, but it doesn't matter what I pick here. But it might be more viable than it used to be. So that's pretty exciting, I think. This card is looking really interesting, and self-winning too, by the way. Any changes to these? Drowners are stronger, which is good. They were a little weak and perhaps a little hard to use. Monsters really had little affinity with rain whatsoever, except for Water Hag and Drowners. So giving them a little buff, although I guess they were also nerfed in the way that weather immune units can now never be affected by weather by moving them to a different row. So probably justified. Probably justified. Would you like another Dimeritium Bomb? Yes, why not? We'll get an animated one, I'm pretty sure. Alright, so let's do a couple more and then leave the rest for the next video, because this is taking a lot longer than I expected. Blizzard Potion. I've said before that I think these cards will mostly see use in actual weather decks, or in decks that that really want to combat their weakness to weather. But that mostly depends on what decks will actually be used by other players. So if there's a lot of weather around, I could see them being worth using, but it's I don't think so. I would sooner see them be included in a deck that actually has weather and wants to combat weather immune units than by decks to combat weather specifically. So getting another ambassador, that's nice. I needed some of those. I'm hoping to get enough cards over here that I won't need to craft many rare or common cards. And it's looking like we're on a decent track here. Anything worth mentioning? I don't think so. And we'll have a nice supply of scraps to craft any remaining epic or legendary cards that we're still missing. Moving rather swiftly now. Any changes to Griffins, by the way? I don't think so. A change worth noting with a Griffin, by the way, is that Aeromancy was changed. So if a Scoia'tael player would like to use Aeromancy again with Aglaïs, then you can now remove just the weather cards created by Aeromancy from the graveyard, because Aeromancy is now fleet. So Griffins are a bit of a better counter to Aglaïs, and it's mostly a Griffin change rather than an Aglaïs change, I guess. Because most of the time Aglaïs would target the same row again if you really wanted to use Aeromancy once more. But yeah, let's take a bit of a break here, because I really need to make my throat recover. It's rather rough, and 68 kegs is a lot, especially if I want to talk about this for a little bit. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back with a few more kegs and a bit more talk.